Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from MailFuzz TV. I am Peter. Joining me is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And we've lost a Ginger. Where's the Ginger gone?
I don't know.
He's slacking. This is the third show he's missed in like 4. I give him shit.
To be fair, he is now in charge of work, right? Like
his boss
everyone
quit.
else.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone else quit, and they're like, Connor, you're in charge now. The power went to his head, and he might be deposed at work because there was an uprising.
Yes. On the bright side, I mean, because he normally works on Saturdays anyway, and he's just back before we start. But it looks like he's going to be off on Saturdays for the rest of the year after this. So we'll be back to normal, 3 of us every week, starting next week.
That's because they revolted, and now he has no job.
Yes.
That's really why he's off on Saturdays. He's actually off every day, but it only affects us on Saturdays now.
So Carl will be back next week. He'll do his Red Hood for this month next week as well. Of course, I don't get to escape my fate because I've got Hawk and Dove to do this week. But in terms of new comics, what we're talking about is a week 5, but it's kind of a meaty week 5 in terms of big things happening. Because we have Heroes in Crisis issue 2, we have Justice League Dark and Wonder Woman The Witching Hour issue 1, which is the end of the story, not to be confused with the dumb naming. Then we have Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth issue 1, which is the start of the Drowned Earth story, kind of. Although I would argue the last Justice League issue was the start of the story, but whatever. And then we have the Terrifics Annual number 1, we have Batman Secret Files number 1, Matt read Deathstroke Yogi Bear special.
Because of course I did.
And I typoed that. I wrote Speckle. I got an A in there for some reason.
Yeah, well, that's a fun word.
Yeah. That's still not right. I'll fix it later. And then, of course, I've got my Hawk and Dove number 5, which is my Patreon punishment. I'll explain that when we get to it. But hey, that is the show this week. It's a weird show. Mm-hmm. Also, lacking news still. It's been a very light few weeks of news. The only thing really going on right now is Mark Waid being sued and fighting said lawsuit.
And good for him though.
Yeah, actually, I meant last week to mention his GoFundMe for the lawsuit expenses. What's up, Matt? You look distracted.
No, sorry. I'm gonna be making salsa later, and they didn't have something at the grocery store, so my wife was asking if something else would work instead. So I had to get back to her.
Okay. Yeah. High priority.
Well, minced garlic is better than garlic powder when you're making. So I have to let her know. Do not buy the garlic powder. Find minced garlic. So. Yeah.
Heard it here first, folks. So I forgot to mention the Mark with GoFundMe last week. I wanted to just pimp it out on the show because it's helping with the funds because he's being sued by someone from Diversity in Comics, which is kind of the comic gate and all that, the bigoted side of the comic fandom and whatnot. I don't want to go too deeply into it, but so I was like, I'll need to remember and mention that next week. But when I checked the GoFundMe yesterday, it surpassed its $75,000 goal. So you can still go and contribute to it because they said that any expenses left over will be given to anti-harassment and anti-hate funds of some appropriate kind. But the goal was reached. But and
which makes me proud as a comic fan that people came together and just killed it.
Yes. Unfortunately, Ethan Van Sciver started a counter GoFundMe for the opposition. I didn't check to see how well that was doing though.
That stuff never works out, so that always cracks me up. So, because it's always that vote with your dollar thing, and while they are the loudest people on the internet, it just seems like they can't organize as well. So it makes me proud that Mark Waid's overfunded. I haven't checked Van Sciver's, but it makes me sad because since he's become such a clown version of himself in the last year and a half, I had to take down my Green Lantern Rebirth poster that he did the art for. I'm probably gonna have to get rid of it now. Which is a shame because I love that image.
I'd say it's more than a year and a half. I think you've only just become aware of it in the last little while because that man did put out an art book. I think it was called My Struggle, which if you're not familiar with that is that is the English translation of Mein Kampf, which was the book that Hitler wrote. So just, take from that what you will. And
so I don't know if it's worse that he's just trying to be edgy for the sake of being edgy, or if he really believes like that was a good idea. Unironically, I don't know which worse. But
I think believe it's worse.
Well, I'm just saying, like
as annoying as someone being edgy for the sake of being edgy is, there's no way that's worse than someone actually being that.
Well, yeah, I'm
hateful.
not accusing him, slander, libel, all of that, but I am saying, like, if he just thought that was a good idea to name his art book that, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
so
it does make me proud, though, that it seems like DC's not using him anymore. Like, he was doing Green Lantern stuff.
Yeah, he got booted last year or earlier this year.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly when it was. But, yeah, so I wanted to mention it. So, we do not tolerate hate on this show.
No.
Except for gingers, for obvious reasons. But, yes. No real news. I mean, there was some TV stuff. The Monitor reveal for the Elseworlds crossover, and apparently Psycho Pirate's going to be in the crossover as well, so they're going all out. It feels like a proper crisis.
Yeah, what gets me is that they're pulling no punches. Like, it looks like a Monitor.
It does. It looks very comic accurate in that image they put out.
So it wasn't like, hey, this is the Arrowverse version of a Monitor. It was like, oh no, this is, if we're making a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, this is what the Monitor would look like.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to me how, like, Arrow started that TV universe, but it kind of feels like everything's gotten away from it. Like, we're now everything kind of follows more stuff to do with the Flash and Supergirl, because they're the ones that actually have all these multiverse things going on, and that's the stuff that lends to the big crossovers. So Arrow's just kind of tends to be along for the ride, and they kind of try to treat him like in the Batman role, where he's there because he's the smart one, but he's not.
Right.
So he's kind of just laughably there and useless, but whatevs.
Yeah.
Do what you do.
I'm more than okay with it. Like, the fact, like, when that show started and they had was it Deadshot that would tattoo his victims' names on him? I was like, oh, come on, man. You're reaching too far.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember.
It's
been too long.
Been too while. But the fact that we're like getting a comics accurate Monitor's super cool.
Yeah. At least visually. I mean, who knows what the characterization will be like, but visually it looks on point. So no. Crossover looks fun and crazy. Maybe a bit of a mess, but I mean, sometimes that could be fun too, depending. So no, it's interesting stuff. So no, I mean, there wasn't really any news. It was kind of light. Light. I don't really have any anecdotal stuff that I want to bring up either. Although usually I have like a little thing. Let's talk about this for a minute, because things happened of interest.
Yeah.
But I got nothing.
Me neither. I'm trying to think, and
Matt hung a photo behind him. I
needed that wall was too bare, so I hung some stuff. Still don't know what I'm gonna do on this side. But yeah.
Creating Matt's backdrop's been going to be an ongoing project for the next 3 months, probably.
Most likely.
Could just paint the wall and be done with it. Just be like, I'll just paint it blue again. Try and recreate the old room as best as possible.
See, that was the thing. Since it was my dad's house that we lived in at the last one, he just had that done. Now, if I have to do it, like, kind of don't want to. It's one of those things.
Oh, I hate decorating as well, Matt. You don't have to explain this to me. I hate it.
I don't mind the decorating, but like painting, I don't want to have to paint. Like,
painting's a pretty large part of decorating, Matt.
Well, to me, decorating is just placing things. You know what I mean? Like downstairs, we got it looking like our old living room. I hung my posters, and we have the hallway down the stairs. Has all the movie posters on it now. And then downstairs, all our movie stuff. And I gotta find 2 old film reels that I can put with my clapperboard to really drive that home. So to me, that's what decorating is. It's not so much just painting and hanging pictures. It's creating a theme.
They're both. When someone says they're going to decorate, I usually assume it means they're going to paint and actually do worky things as opposed to just moving things around. I have a clapperboard as well, funnily enough. Is it behind me? Can I grab it?
Well, mine's just from Universal Studios, and it's just a decoration, really. So I'm sure yours is like you've actually used it for filming and whatnot.
It's really dusty though. It's been sitting collecting fluff for years at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, does yours have the marker board or the chalkboard?
Chalk.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. So yours is more traditional looking than I thought.
I would prefer a pen board, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Oh, the hinges gotten kind of stiff. There we go. That was probably real.
Yeah. See, that's mine. I just stiffened mine so I could hang it on the wall and put it like it's going. But mine's like from Universal Studios, and I want to put Spielberg's name on it, but I don't know. Well, we'll see.
And the audio people didn't get to see it. They just got to hear a stupid loud noise at one point.
Yeah. All right. But by the way, it was Halloween this past week, and I didn't have a costume ready to go since the move. Usually I try to dress as a wrestler, but I've been running out of wrestlers to be. So I just opted to wear a vacation shirt, like a loud Hawaiian shirt, and my Jurassic Park hat. And I had a kid come up and ask me if I was supposed to be Steven Spielberg. So I just went with it. That was probably the best compliment anyone could have ever given me. Yeah.
Oh dear. No, I really. Me and Connor recorded a bunch of stuff on Halloween this year. I didn't really have time to do anything specifically for.
So what was your final tally for your horror movies?
Oh, it was terrible. It was like 10 or something like that. It was not good.
Really?
It was
wow.
Good. It was a bit.
I had.
Do you know what it was?
6.
You would think having you and Connor both been missing for a while would mean that I'd have more time to just do random stuff. But the thing is because I had Haunting a Hill House on Netflix to review, and I was doing that. I was doing that daily for like a week and a half or whatever it was. That basically once that started, I'd stop watching movies, and then once that finished, me and Connor were catching up because he was back from vacation, and then once we got to that point, then Sabrina and other stuff started. And it was just, I don't know, it was just a busy time.
Yeah, I only got in like 5 horror movies this October, which after last year I tried to participate in Octoberthon. So I really went for it. Watched stuff like New Year's Evil and whatnot. This year it was mostly rewatches and the new Halloween movie.
I'm evil.
It is underrated entertaining, that New Year's Evil.
I love New Year's Evil. It's great.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's good, but it's entertaining. So, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's definitely a 80s B-movie slasher. That's what it is, but it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. It's because
I did try to get my wife to watch Jason X on Halloween, and she wasn't going for it because she knows that's Jason in space, and she's like, "I don't want to watch that. That's not scary. That's stupid." And I got very upset because Jason X is not stupid. Jason X is fun.
Well, I mean, she's not wrong. It is stupid. It's just good stupid.
Yeah. But the way that she's saying stupid, she was like, it's a waste of time. So we ended up watching The Skeleton Key instead. Which, don't get me wrong. I love Kate Hudson. That movie is not that good.
Oh, no. That's like a... I don't know if Sony actually made it, but that looks like a Sony-made horror movie.
Yeah. So it was not good. The twist, yeah. But, yeah. I fell asleep during it and was woken up by trick-or-treaters. We had 2. At the new house, 2 trick-or-treaters.
What was funny, actually, is normally October, a lot of my horror watching will be for streams after midnight with Tim, but because he was getting married in October, we pre-recorded most of our episodes before the month, so none of those even counted. We had a few episodes at the end. We had a new Halloween, we had a few of the Patreon vote winners, and that was it.
Wow.
There we are.
It's a shame.
I know. It was a light month. Shitty October for horror movie watching.
But our good friend Dan, he picked up the slack for everybody, I think. And,
he was watching a ton. And Timmy, do you know what? Tim is, I don't know how Tim always complains he doesn't have enough time for things, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the month, he says, "Oh, I only watched 40-something horror movies this month." 40-something. You got married this month, Tim. How the hell did you have time for 40 horror movies?
To be fair, he got married at the beginning of the month, so that left him, another 25 days to watch 40 movies.
Still
doesn't make sense, but yeah.
But he got married, and he's living at his in-laws just now while they're setting their new house up, right?
House, yeah.
So I'm like, he's got a lot of stuff going on. How does he have time for 40 horror movies?
I don't know. I barely had time for the new Halloween. Getting out to the theater. I haven't seen First Man yet. I need to do that before the rest of them start. And I try to make my wife watch Creed. She does not want to watch Creed, and it's making me very angry. So.
We'll put on Creep then when she's not prepared for it.
Oh no, we've already watched Creed.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah, but I want her to watch Creed so she can go with me to see Creed 2.
Mm-hmm.
But
and she's
I'm
not
like,
having it.
Tessa Thompson's in it. You love Tessa Thompson. She's like, yeah, and Thor. And I'm just like, she's learned. She doesn't fall for those tricks anymore. So.
Oh dear. All right, let's talk about books, shall we?
There we go.
So yeah, we'll start with the biggie. We'll start with Heroes in Crisis issue 2. Tom King writing, Clay Mann on art, and much controversy this book. It seems like every issue that comes out of this there's going to be a pissing contest on the internet to either praise or complain about everything that's going on in the book, and a lot of it does come down to really sort of online pissing contests and just general snarkiness.
I'll just give mine where I am just taking this in as it goes. I'm trying to just be zen about it because we all know I can overreact, and I do overreact.
Yes.
Right. I liked what was in this book, but I don't know how I feel about the story, if that makes any sense.
I think it kind of does.
So, the testimonials from Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, I thought were great. The overall plot of Booster and Harley and who done it and who's actually dead and who might not be dead, and I don't know what to think on that yet. It's only 2 issues.
Yeah.
And I feel like we haven't been given a lot to chew on.
I think it's a really well crafted comic book. I feel like it feels epic in scope. It feels like a big event. It feels and part of that's the art because the art's so good, but just the interactions between the Trinity, them being at the center of this and sorting this stuff out. Barry finding out about Wally because Booster's a bit of an idiot in this book and brings it up without realizing that he doesn't know. That stuff for me is mostly working, and then the implications of the ending and the stuff that's going to come from the testimonials is kind of interesting. Because there's a wild Lois at the end. Lois is in the Daily Planet, and we're doing some spelling jokes, which I can't spell things. And apparently, Arsenal's testimonial from Sanctuary has been sent to her. Someone has this footage, and over the course of the book, we saw both Superman and Batman reveal their identities. Batman takes his cowl off. Superman's talking about growing up in the farm as Clark Kent. There's all these things. Right. So obviously we're getting to these big things. This is arguably the bigger threat here of not only who killed these people, but who's behind this and who's actually going to reveal potentially who they all are. Not that I expect to actually have Batman and Superman exposed by the end of it.
Yeah.
And if they are, then that'll be something else that's reversed for sure. Because obviously.
Yeah. So the thing that I really bit into here was the interaction between the Trinity and them finding out what killed Commander Steel, and that it was because he's impenetrable. He's basically Colossus from the X-Men with his skin, so he should be indestructible. But they find a lump in his throat, and it looks like a pair of Joker's chattering teeth.
Yeah,
were shoved down his throat. Which would mean, it would point to Harley. So they get talking about, the protocol of if there's any backups that they can check on the, to see who did this. And Batman's like, oh, no, I made sure there's no backups anywhere. And he's like, yeah, but you're Batman. We know that's not true. He's like, I bet you have kryptonite in your bat belt, which is a nice joke about the bat belt there. Right? And Batman's like, no, why would I do that? Well, later, Harley comes a-calling, and turns out there's kryptonite in his bat belt. So
well, yeah, because she has the lasso on him. She's stolen
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's lasso, and she has him. And she says, "Have you got anything in your belt that would help? You got kryptonite to help deal with Superman, because she
Right.
can't fight Superman, obviously." And
Right.
Superman says, "No, he doesn't." And then he just says, "I have kryptonite in my belt."
Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, that made me laugh. That was a funny payoff
Yep.
to the earlier scene.
Well, but it also tells me that Batman's not being on the up and up. So I'm sure he's lying about there not being backups.
Yeah, I mean, you could
Like-
read it like that. I mean, admittedly though, I'm inclined to kind of believe him just based on the fact that because when he says that he's been to Sanctuary himself and we see him take off his cowl, I'm like,
Yeah.
he would have a reason to not keep any of this.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. He's Batman.
I mean, he is,
he-
but
He brought, I think, did they bring up Tower Babel? Or was that in a piece that I read?
yeah, I wasn't
But-
in this, no. I don't think.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, this is the guy that took down the rest of the Justice League Roz brought him down.
Well,
with his
here's the
plan.
thing though, the kryptonite thing, he wasn't hurting anything by lying about that. I don't feel that Batman would actually impede the investigation with the other two Trinity members and lie about having... Because if it existed, he would want to look at it, right? He would want to solve the crime. This was what he does.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's super shifty, and I felt like there was more to that than just the laugh. I feel, because especially after Mr. Miracle, I feel like King, he's not one of these writers that just adds fluff there. Like everything has a meaning. I feel so. Well, we'll see if that
I mean,
pays off.
yeah, but I think it can have a meaning without it meaning that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, maybe, and this is what I mean, where I don't know about the story because there's so much up in the air. Like I feel like he hasn't given us enough, like I said earlier, to grab onto. Like we're 2 issues in, and it's slow moving, and that's okay. Like I'm not complaining about that. But the one big thing I had a problem with is they say that Poison Ivy died, but it's off screen, and as a Poison Ivy fan, or it's off panel, that upsets me. Like.
Well, yeah, but it comes back to everyone being upset about Wally. Really.
Yeah,
Same
but at
difference.
least Wally, we saw his body,
That's not much of a difference, Matt.
I think it is.
It's not much of a difference. This
So,
is boiling down now to, I should be more upset because Ivy was done even more hard by.
Well, I'm not saying more upset or not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into that pissing contest, but for a character that he spent so much time with in that Batman arc, to just willy-nilly kill her off panel, I hope there's more payoff. And that's my point is, before I'm going to jump to my gun or jump the line, whatever you want to say, I want to see how the rest of this plays out. It's only 2 issues in, but
For me, adding to the list Poison Ivy of who's dead is just further confirmation that this isn't sticking.
yeah.
I don't believe for a
It could
second
be.
that Wally West, Poison Ivy, and Roy Harper are all staying dead at the end of this.
I say maybe King has a thing against gingers.
That's a good point. All 3 of them are ginger.
Huh?
I mean, Commander Steel and so on aren't, as far as I know,
No.
but still,
But yeah,
it's amusing.
so, well, man, I definitely feel like Arsenal is for sure because we've seen that repercussion in 2 other books.
I don't know. I think you could you could just rename this book Ginger Side.
Ginger Side.
That's pretty funny.
My
Anyway,
favorite post-hardcore band.
S-
Ginger Side.
yeah, I'm digging the way it's been told so far. There is this kind of weird feeling over it though because of all the deaths and because you're kind of feeling like I don't believe this is sticking. And obviously some people are flying off the handle and assuming that it's sticking and are pissed about it. And I just can't jump to those conclusions because it just doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't feel like, oh, this is permanent. And
Yeah.
I know people like to compare the image. They like to show the image from Rebirth where Wally's back, and now there's the image of Wally being dead like 2 years later. And I get the irony there, I do, but I just I don't believe that he's gone for good. I just don't feel it yet.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that's denial. I don't know.
I did love Booster though. His reasoning to going and getting Barry is because he's a police scientist and he's good at dead bodies, but he doesn't think like this would affect him mentally in any way. He's just like, oh, let's go get Barry. He's good at dead bodies. He'll know who killed Wally.
Yeah.
But it felt like classic Booster Gold. So But yeah, I feel like there's gonna be some timey-wimey elements towards the end now because they're really leaning heavy into Booster and maybe if he's the killer, what made him snap to kill all the people and if that's fixable. If maybe time travel is,
Yeah,
exacerbated
I'll be
it,
honest. At this point, I'm expecting neither Booster or Harley to be the killer.
Me too.
I don't
Me
really
too.
think it's either of them. I think they've both got the same whammy on them that's confusing them or whatever. I did like the confessionals. I want to go back to them for a bit because I like this idea that they feel very meta, especially Batman and Superman's, where it feels like they're having conversations with themselves that we as fans often kind of have and talk about. The idea that Batman's kind of admitting, hey, all these kids that I've trained to help fight, they've all kind of ended up dead in one way or another. And it's like a moment of
we pointed
admission.
out on the show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And it's this moment of reflection. And then Clark has the moment where he's like, am I Clark or am I Superman? And that's a debate I've had many a time, and I always come back to he's Farm Boy Clark. He's not Clark Kent at Daily Planet, he's not Superman, he's Farm Boy Clark. And both of those are an extension of that.
But I like how King put it where it's I was Clark Kent and then I became Superman, but then I became Clark Kent to hide being Superman.
Yeah.
And it created like this Russian nesting doll of who is Clark Kent. And I never saw it really put that way before.
Yeah.
It would, like, we know it from the different versions and whatnot, but him having an identity crisis about it.
Yeah.
Like,
who
really am I?
What I point out though is the way I just phrased it there about who the real Clark is. That's not me critiquing the way King said it here. I actually think the way King said it here agrees with what I say. It's just that's how I usually phrase it. The way he's phrased it is that Clark became a different thing when Superman became a thing because it had to be enough different to for the reasons.
Right.
And the idea,
as you said, it's Clark at home on the farm.
Yeah.
Is who he is.
Or another way to put it is that they're all him. There's no you can't take one away. One's not fake. They're all part of him.
Yeah. Yeah, which is it was always funny is, in Christianity you have the Trinity there.
Yeah.
And they're as it's been explained to me, they're all one and the same. And that's kind of with Clark, Superman and Daily Planet Clark. Is they all are one and the same and they create one greater thing. So I feel like King drawing inspiration from that. But I really liked it. The one that confused me was Wonder Woman's. Like, what the hell's going on in Hippolyta's bedroom at night? Where
kinky, dangerous sex games, that's what's happening.
Yeah, is that what that was supposed to be?
No, I don't think it actually was meant to be kinky. I think it was...
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean, because Wonder Woman's whole thing was the idea that she went and bit her lip, right? And that's how he phrases it. She bit her lip and just kind of held it in. And Sanctuary's her finally sort of like going for help. But then she kind of backs off at the end and says, no, you know what? Other people need help more than I do, so I'll just keep biting my lip. It's fine. Which is kind of speaks to her character, but...
Well, and that's also like a good thing on mental health, is like you just can't... that boils down to it's okay to not be okay. And she still feels like it's not okay to not be okay.
Yeah, well, I think that's the point of these three confessionals from the Trinity, is that all three of them are kind of bringing up what their deal is, what their trauma is, that's weighing on them, and I think setting that up's quite neat. I think I like this issue more than the first one, actually.
Well, yeah, I like how it dug deep, and we didn't necessarily have that you're thrown into the deep end trying to piece things together. This is, okay, well, the story's going, and King can shift gears to do these testimonials.
Yeah, and also at the end of the book, setting up the threat of their identities being leaked, and not only that, the confessions. Because hell, even one of the things that Clark says is, if the world knew that Superman doubted himself, that would be tragic. That people wouldn't believe in him the same way anymore. So not only would people know he's Clark Kent, they would stop seeing him as Superman, as the the impenetrable hope and truth and justice and all the rest of it, the symbol. Which there's some interesting stuff there, and then of course Batman's guilt and whatever else. But so I think, as always with King, the emotional side and like what he's exploring is where it's at its best.
Mhm.
And then the details of the plot are when it kind of shakes up a little bit. I know the internet went off its nut this week, went crazy about Harley being able to like hold her own with Wonder Woman and Batman for the briefest of moment. And I'm just like, she sucker punched Wonder Woman. She wasn't expecting it, and she had the lasso.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it wasn't that much of an
Well,
extended thing.
also, I look at her, she's a cornered animal, and you never know what a cornered animal is capable of, you know?
Yeah, honestly,
So,
the only possible thing that I would say that I have a problem with is that if Superman wasn't joking when he said that Harley's better than he is, that Harley's better than
right.
Batman is, I'd be like, really? Better than Batman? I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm a Batman fan and Batman's good at everything. I'm just saying
Yeah.
Harley's more skilled than Batman, really? I'd be going down
Yeah,
that path.
no. And I do feel like King is writing Harley, and when we get out of this, it's going to be a different version of Harley, because we've had this new 52 Amanda Connor Palmiotti version, you know, where she's kind of DC's Deadpool, and I feel we're gonna get a more classic Harley coming out of this.
Well, she's wearing
You
the
know,
classic
kinda
suit,
like,
actually. I mean, when she goes to
yeah,
Tynion,
she's wearing that.
Yeah.
But I like the one that was in White Knight, you know, that version where Murphy did the cool thing, like there was actually two, and Joker never realized. But I feel like that's the version we're gonna get
What
at the end
one?
of this. Huh?
There was two in White Knight. Which one?
The original, the
Okay.
Dr. Quinzel.
So you think she's going to reform and be more of a sane person?
Not necessarily sane, but more of that, you know, Batman animated series version, and less of the what we've had recently.
Oh, so it's
Because
not actually White Knight, then just back to the
yeah,
original.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
But I was bringing up White Knight because there's two different characters when you think about it. Like the original Harley Quinn and then the new 52 one. They do feel like two separate characters.
Oh, they are. I don't know if that's
You know?
interesting though to have her go back to like classic Harley, because I feel like
Yeah.
that maybe just kind of ignores any progress she makes in this story, if she makes any
Well,
progress at all.
what if she realizes that whole jokiness and whatnot wasn't good for her, you know, and whatever reason. Like it's because of those events she reverts back.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she was like dead serious before.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, I think where it's going, having her, again, I don't think he does anything just willy-nilly, you know? So I feel like her being in the classic outfit, you know, I feel like there's a change coming for her when it's all said and done.
If anything, I mean, there's probably a change coming, but I don't know if it's the change that you're hinting at. I think her being in the classic outfits maybe more to do with sort of returning to the start of her trauma, because even with her dialogue in this, when she's talking about, oh, I shouldn't have let someone change me, I shouldn't have loved Joker, I shouldn't have done this, it's her being reflective, so she's kind of going back to her roots and how what she's thinking about. I think it's symbolic that she's back in that. I will say, obviously the art's fantastic. It was fantastic in the first. Clayman's phenomenal. I'm digging the title pages where it's like spread across a landscape. That's 2 issues in a row it's done that. But one of the touches I like with Harley, she's got her old suit on, but she's actually got like a bit of hair sticking out the front of it.
Yeah.
It's not like perfectly on as it used to be.
Well, it's like she's frazzled. You know, like
I like that touch. I thought that was a really nice touch in the art. I'm digging the weightiness of all this, and I'm okay with superhero stories tackling darker subjects and tackling a more macabre story, a more impactful story. If I mean, obviously it gets tiring if that's all you ever do, but I'm into it for the most part so far. I'm intrigued to where it's going, and I feel like the dramatic points, the emotional points that are going to be made I'm hoping they're going to be worth the journey, because it feels like he's really poking at the psyche of the Trinity, and I'm curious to see where we lead with that, and how Booster and Harley kind of fit in from their end when everything's said and done. I don't know. I know some people hate this. Some people despise this book. Some people don't like Tom King as a writer. And I think it is very much a taste thing. I think you're either going to love this or hate it.
So that's what I realized over the course of, I don't know, maybe doing the show or just maturing a little bit from where I was. But I've realized, like, it's okay to be subjective. Just don't be an a-hole about things.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right? Like, if you don't like it, that's cool, because everybody's tastes are different. But, like, to talk down those that like other things, that's, I think, I've always had an issue with. But now I'm just kind of like, where I used to poke the bear at that, like someone talking crap about superhero books because they only like indies. Now I'm just kind of like, well, cool, whatever, man. Like, I'll be over here reading my superhero books, Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I just to go back to the original point, I said this a lot in the first issue as well. I don't believe for a second that these characters are staying dead when we're done.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be timey-wimey.
If not timey-wimey, then Doomsday Clock's ending like a month later. And that might reset things a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's it. This leaves me just always going, I don't know. And it's not a bad thing. Like me years ago would be like, well, no, I don't like that. I want to know things. But now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, what else you got? Give me the next issue, King.
I think for me, as I'm reading this book, it feels big in scope. It feels big, obviously, in art, but it feels big in scope in terms of idea. It feels ambitious, and I think even if you don't like it, and I do like it so far, even though I have some concerns about certain things, even if you don't like it, I would hope that someone appreciates that there is ambition here. Even if you don't like the direction it's going, I think it's an ambitious idea for a book, and
yeah.
I'll always try and appreciate that in any medium. I will always be more enthusiastic about the weird movie, the art house movie that someone had a weird idea for and tried to push it, and is unapologetically not commercial at all and didn't try to be this mainstream thing. And to me, this isn't that unmainstream, but it doesn't. It feels like it's not pulling a punch in terms of, like, King's got this vision, he's going to do his thing.
Right.
And I felt that a lot in his Batman run, where he'll try different things, and some of it won't always land, and some of it he'll nail this really cool little idea that no one's really done before. And I kind of appreciate the experimentation, for better or worse, even when it doesn't always land.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just want to claim Mann's art. We kind of breezed over it, but like Harley playing Go Fish with a penguin, like. He gets to draw that. Like, that's such a... He does it so well. And then his Lois, I love Clay Mann's Lois, because he did the date issues, right?
Yes, he did, yeah.
Yeah. So his Lois, I think, looks so good. And then I love that they've made her colored purple. Because she's wearing purple in this. She wore purple in that issue. Her eyes are that purple. I like when they do that. So... I like that there's almost a continuity between the Tom King, Clay Mann stuff.
Yeah, no, art's fantastic. I really can't fault anything in the art, really. It's gorgeous. No. But best art at the end of the episode, I think it's going to be pretty cut and dry, but...
Yeah.
Not much I can add to that, really. I will say I love... the pages of Barry finding out and speeding off, like his eyes when he hears the name Wally and then speeds off, is a fantastic little moment. So I just we'll see where it goes. I feel like no one's really has an idea right now of where this is going at the end, and outside of just expecting it to be reversed in some way, it wouldn't surprise me if only one or two characters even remember all this happened by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, but I think that would be a disservice to the Ultimate story if it's about trauma and there's no lasting effects of it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. No, I can't argue with that.
So, like if they can just learn to deal with it still, and they're like, well, maybe this was a bad idea, us trying to do this, we need people outside of us, that'd be cool. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I don't want it just to get wiped out. Like, even if they reverse things, I want this to have a lasting impact on somebody, whether it's Booster or Harley or even Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman. Like, I want this to leave some kind of mark.
Yeah, we should mention the group that sent Lois the tape refers to themselves as the Puddlers, which was written on the walls in the last issue. So we got the Puddlers. I'm curious to see where this goes. Oh, well, I suppose we should rate Heroes in Crisis then before we move on. Issue 2. What are you giving it?
I can't remember what I gave the last one, but I think I'm just going to give this one an 8. Because I did like the testimonials and the art. So that was enough to get it to me. But I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, I don't remember what I gave the last one either. I want to say it was like an 8.5.
Okay. Well, you think this one was better, so
I do. I don't know if it's better enough to like, confidently give it a 9 though.
yeah.
So I'll say 8.5 because I think that's what I gave
There
the
you go.
last one, and I think it's slightly better, but
There
not
you go.
a half point better. I guess I'll
Yeah,
say.
there you go.
I'm intrigued though. I'm looking forward to the issues. I kind of dread them at the same time though, just because of like well, this be the one where it does something really stupid that I hate, or B, and this is one's more consistent, is okay, all the internet complaining I'm going to have to hear, and not even complaining, just because it's fine if people don't like things, but the disputing,
Yeah.
the back and forth, the hatred
Yeah.
between groups that I can't be
It's
bothered with.
it's very exhausting, and that's why I tend to stay away now. I
Yeah.
used to jump in there with my axe and shield and try to take as many as I can. That's not my life anymore. So
Yep.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on then. We'll move on to Justice League Dark and Wonder Woman: The Witching Hour issue 1. James Tynion the
Mhm.
fourth on writing with Fernando, Blanco, Miguel Mendonca, and Jesus Merino all on the art.
Yeah.
So so we'll wrap up this crossover before we do the start of the next thing. So I kind of feel similar to this one that I do about the last few, in that I think it's pretty decent, but not necessarily that standout.
I like this one a little bit more than the last couple, just because it felt like Tynion knew exactly where he was going. He said he was in a holding pattern.
Mm.
The last couple. Um, that said, when you do something like this, I expect there to be lasting effects, and I feel like there's not going to be. Like he traded out the Parliament of Trees for the Parliament of Flowers. I don't think that's going to stick. You know? Like I wish he could. And maybe he can't. Maybe DC has other plans, and this is just part of the storyline. But I like that. I liked the story of where Hecate came from, and
I,
she's,
I think that was the best part of the book, was the story of where
yeah,
Hecate came from. Wonder Woman dives out of the water in the upside down moon, nether realm.
we'll just call it the Upside Down.
Yeah.
We're full going.
And she finds like the two nicer versions of Hecate,
Yeah.
the
The
younger two
maiden
versions.
Yeah, the maiden and the mother. Is that the other one?
I think so, yeah. Before
Yeah.
the crone version. And like there's still a couple of things that don't quite add up for me a little bit. They don't quite click together. Like, so why didn't Hecate just try and take over everything way back when she first decided to? Was there a reason for that before? I can't remember.
So I just feel like it was a poison pill, right?
Okay.
Where they had kept taking advantage of her. So when she's the maiden, her magic is what gives birth to all the pantheons of gods. And what I like here is what they did in what Jason Aaron did in Thor, that all the gods exists. It's just which ones you choose to believe in that affect you. So her magic gives birth to all of these pantheons of gods, from the Greeks to the Romans to the Norse to all of them, right? And through that they start to take advantage of her. So then she starts to appeal. She loses her maidenness and becomes the mother, right? And she tries to appeal to the humans. And then, of course, the humans take advantage of her magic. And they almost enslave her, in that way. So when she becomes the crone, she's this bitter woman that's been taken advantage of too many times. So she decides to turn this magic into a poison pill that'll be their downfall eventually.
Just one thing, Matt. Are you sure it was the humans who betrayed her? I thought it was the gods that betrayed her.
Was it? I read it as the humans, because they had gone on.
Because it was let me find it. Beyond the gods they worship. Because I thought it was who she was meant to marry, who also left her to rot.
Well, I thought that's where her maidenship ended, and that's where she became the mother. And the way I read it, she became the mother to foster the humans. So she would put out these little pieces of magic to help them along.
No, because I think that already happened by that point. Because she sort of became the mother when all these other gods kind of rose up, right?
See, so I read this on Wednesday over lunch, so I was also reading it quicker than normal because it wasn't my lunch.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Because they kind of turn on her. Everyone kind of turns on her, and that's kind of what turns her down this path to becoming the evil Hecate that we all kind of know. I think one thing that you've glossed over, though, that I think is really worth mentioning is that she's essentially the first being of the universe.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the Upside Down Man is her equivalent in the Dark Multiverse. He
Right.
I said she's the first being of the universe. She's the first being of the multiverse, just to be accurate in that. And then she felt something upside down, and we see the Upside Down Man there. And I like that because that kind of says what the Upside Down Man recognized in Diana that day. Like why he got kind of like interested, not scared. He just got intrigued. He was like, "Oh, that's inside you," because he recognizes it. Because he knows who that comes from. I think that's interesting. I like that part of it.
Right. I'm just going back to what I read real quick. Yeah, so it was kind of she was taking it out on everybody. But yeah, the inciting incident that turned her to the crown was, which I liked that Tynion had played with it, was from Greek mythology, where they replaced Hecate with Demeter, who is the goddess of nature and the seasons and whatnot. And then that's what caused her to scream out in agony, which put her in touch with the Upside Down Man. And that's through where she decided to let magic destroy them.
Yeah, because it's funny because it basically reveals that she is kind of the origin of magic in the first place.
Yeah.
In fact, my favorite page of this book is probably that page of her being created at the start of the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a pretty page of just her in the cosmos, the cloud, the cloud in the space and the spark of light. It's a really pretty page. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
But the actual resolution just kind of felt like quick to me, I guess. Diana regains control of her body. After of course everyone's trying to kill her because basically the Justice League Dark realize they have to kill her and fight her. But she kind of wakes back up and just kind of unleashes. They defeat her by getting Zatanna to use her magic, which opens the door to the Netherworld, which brings in the Upside Down Man, and the Upside Down Man feasts upon her. So he's still a threat. He still exists.
Right.
He's still a problem, obviously, but and I like that resolution.
And so is Naboo. Because we still got to find out why he opened the door to the Upside Down Man, the gods of order. So that's still out there lingering. I
think the issue suffers a little bit from being a bit overstuffed. I think Tynion in this particular issue overwrote it at times. There's some pages with a lot of boxes, with a lot of like magic mumbo jumbo being explained. It's a bit over expository for me in places. So it did sag at parts this issue, I thought. Especially, I liked the Hecate stuff, and I liked how she was defeated ultimately. But it was a bit quick. Like I almost could have had more of a chase when the Upside Down Man showed up. Like maybe making more out of it as opposed to just he's here one panel and then the next panel he's sinking his teeth into her. And I guess that's supposed to show that he's that dangerous. It's that quick, but
I do like where it leaves the relationship between Zatanna and Diana though, because Diana realizes like while she comes from magic and the mystics, she has no understanding of it like Zatanna does. So, like, yes, she can lead the team, but she's going to need, like, a lieutenant that knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I do like that it got to there because that was always my question of why is Wonder Woman leading this team? Because she doesn't, she deals with, like, the gods and whatnot, but it's never been, like, an outright magic book. So here, I like that Tynion kind of put that into place,
Yeah. So. Yeah, I enjoyed it well enough. I think the crossover as a whole felt a bit too long for what it was, but also over expository. That could have used more time to like breathe those ideas a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we could have gotten another 2 issues instead of this one big one. Like a whole issue of Hecate's origin. I wouldn't have been adverse to that.
Yeah, I would have condensed 2 of the previous issues into one and then given us a full issue of the backstory. That would have maybe been a better idea. So I think managing the distribution of information was a bit weird. It felt a bit almost Snydery in that respect. It was just too much.
Yeah. which
thrown at me in terms
which
of
does make
concepts.
sense that Tynion is the disciple of
That's
Snyder.
true. But he's not usually as bad as Snyder, though. You know.
No. But you can see him falling into that.
Yeah.
Not, I don't say a crutch, but like that's his parachute, if you will. Like, oh, I got to get out of this. How am I going to do it? Oh, I'm going to add exposition.
Yeah.
Which I know annoys most people. I don't mind it as much, except when I'm trying to read this over lunch and I have a limited time.
Yeah.
And I'm rushing and I miss things.
So the final reveal of the book is that Cersei is the final of the 5 that
Witch marked.
The witch marked, yeah. And she, because the others, it's kind of Jet Li the one, because the other 4 have given up the power. all of it's went to her, and now she has the power of Hecate. So Cersei's
Did you just say like in Jet Li's the one?
Yes.
That might be the first time that's been brought up on the show.
On this show, for sure. In history, probably not.
No, but just yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that's what I heard.
Well, yeah, because the plot of that movie is that he's killing all the other versions of himself, and every time he does it, he gets stronger. So I'm just kind of like that. That's how I'm not dying, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Also Highlander. You could have gone with Highlander.
I could have.
I mean, but this plays at the multiverse. Anyways, I just didn't want that to be lost to either. So.
But she's going to be a big threat in Justice League Dark going forward. That's clear.
Which I like, because now she is kind of Cersei's the de facto goddess of magic.
Yeah. So I mean, we knew she was up to something. We said that as soon as she was helping. We're like, oh no, she's up to something. She's got an agenda here. Something's going on. And that seems to be what it is. So now she's the most powerful being in the goddamn planet. So we'll see how that shapes up.
When it comes to the Upside Down Man, I like knowing that Cersei can fight him if necessary, because she's willing. I feel like she's willing to fight dirty if necessary.
Yeah. I expect so. I like some of the destruction pages early on when Nana Parbat's just like crumbling.
Yeah, it becomes the necropolis.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
New buildings are forming and all the rest of it. That stuff was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is the rebirth Day of Judgment, where we destroyed magic to replace it with something different for the sake of. I don't want to say for the sake of change, so that may sound too willy-nilly, but like magic in the DCU has gotten stale because no one's been using it. Tynion comes in and is like, well, these are the new rules, kind of like Chons did with Day of Judgment. So I like where that left off, because we have Rama Tut staying with Madame Xanadu in London, because she was separated into the different monks. So they're all going to be staying there. So it adds these little pieces, and I like that we can kind of see, unlike Heroes in Crisis where we have no idea where it's going, here I can kind of see different things Tynion is seeding, even if he doesn't get to them himself.
Yeah. I do think Heroes in Crisis, though, is a much more impressive read as I'm going through it, though, in terms of actually...
Yeah. I just mean in the seeding of story, how we...
Oh, sure.
Don't know what's coming. It was just the only reason I bring it up. Not that they're not similar in any way other than being comic books set in the DC universe. We had just reviewed that, and that was one of the takeaways. Where like we have no idea where this is going.
The reason I say that is because I read this right after I read Heroes in Crisis,
right.
And Heroes in Crisis felt really deliberately paced. It felt like it was moving at a very steady kind of.
Well, it's much better crafted.
It's much better crafted, yeah. Whereas this felt a bit more expository and a bit clunky in places.
Yeah.
But enjoyable for the most part. Like I don't want to rag on it.
I liked what I read. I like where this left us. I like.
That's it, though.
It's definitely. What's that?
I will say that this crossover is definitely my least favorite part of Justice League Dark so far, though. I prefer the 3 issues we got before the crossover. I think are better than this crossover. Yeah,
and I think that's a good. I don't want to say a good sign, but that is a sign of going forward. Like we're gonna get away from this, and we're gonna see what's going on. But yeah, no, a lot of fun. I liked what I read, even as messy as it was. I did enjoy the places that it went. So I'm looking forward to more Justice League Dark.
Yeah. All right, that's right. Justice League Dark then. What you giving it?
7.5.
Yeah, we're going to go straight 7. I feel like that's kind of how I feel about the crossover as a whole. It's like a 7, pretty much overall.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but also starting this week. I say kind of starting this week because I would say that the last Justice League issue was really the start of it. But this is Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth issue 1. James Tynion the fourth again writing this. He's done all the big books this week. And
dude's a machine.
Howard Porter's on the art. And this is diving straight in, which is why I think it's weird to say this is the start of the story. I'm sure the trade will start with, the last issue of Justice League, but
yeah.
This is, the world's in chaos, the waters are flooding, the major cities at the coast, and we have the Justice League, what's left of them, trying to save the people around the cities. Gotham's in disarray, even Gordon, has his moment where he gets thrown into the water.
That was tragic. I did feel like Tynion had me there, where Bruce is like, no, I need you, Jim. Like, I need a leader on the ground preventing this, and then he gets taken, and then when he lunges at Batman and it's a hologram, it got me. Because I was like, wait, last time we saw him, he was holed up in the Hall of Justice in a body cast. What's he doing in Gotham?
And then you find out Miss Martian's using her telepathy, because all the comms are down, so she's using the old powers to connect everyone who's around. And so he's trying to coordinate. He's talking to Superman, who's in Metropolis, who has a flood wall.
Reminded me of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, because it was really sad at the end though, because we come back to him later and it's been it's given in, it's broke,
right?
And this Metropolis is flooded, and he feels guilty because he took Lois to the fortress, and he's like, if I hadn't spent so long doing that, could I have done more here? So you have all these little bits, and you have Flash running around doing his thing. He seems to be okay just running the water. I guess the boots are good enough to not let the water in.
Well, yeah, because he says that he's only been in contact with it with like whatever science he's figured out, point nanoseconds, so he's fine. There's that scene where one of the sea gods comes out and has Superman, and I thought it was really well paced. It definitely felt like a movie, to where he has Superman, he's clouded his cells, so he's cut him off from the sunlight, and he's gonna drop him into the water.
Mike's going. Yeah. Actually, yeah, no, the Superman fight with because it's these other water gods from other worlds, of course, and they are taking over Earth because their waters don't exist anymore because Poseidon was a dick, and he wasn't a dick. They tried to take over Earth back then. Poseidon locked them up because they tried to take it over.
He pushed back.
But so one of them's fighting Superman, and he clouds all his cells so that he can't make any contact with the sun. And Superman is basically dying in his hand. He's just kind of like shivering up and going away. And Flash has to catch him and rescue him before he hits the water.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to. When he catches, I fist pumped.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah!
I also liked earlier when Flash was running around various cities, and in every panel in a different city around the world, there's like different. There's some of the Teen Titans are one panel, some of the Adam Strange is in one, Bard and Mr. Miracle are in one.
In LA, which I like. If they're gonna be our LA representatives, that's cool.
I did question though, because Donna Troy was in one of them, and given that
the whole Titans team was there.
No, it wasn't, because the rest of the Titans. Actually, no, because Garth was there. No, that's a good point. Garth was with the team in the Titans book. Yeah, but the other ones weren't on the team anymore, because it was in the background of that panel. It was someone else who wasn't on the team. Because I remember thinking, no, they're okay, because they're not on the team anymore. I'm sure I thought that. Maybe I'm misremembering. Hold on.
Because I saw that and I was like, okay, continuity.
Yeah, that feels like a slip, because the book even references Titans later on when Batman sends Miss Martian back to her team.
Yeah, no, it's Garth, Beast Boy, Troy, and Raven. It's straight up the team that's lost.
Yeah,
minus
that's weird.
The newbies.
That is weird. Yeah. That felt weird to me, but yeah, whatever. It's a minor quibble, but it's whatever.
Yeah, but we got to see the Ray, and we see Keenan.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Simon's in London helping out there with Green Lantern powers.
I want to say I really liked this, actually. I thought it was a lot more fun than Witching Hour this week. I had a blast. It felt big, it felt goofy. Howard Porter's art's very pulpy, and it's funny, I'm so used to him doing Flash that it was kind of weird to first see him do all these other characters. But
his Superman looks a little bit weird, not in a bad way, just that's a different take.
Yeah.
Because he's very angular, so...
It's got a style for sure. I think it really benefits the flooded cities though. His style.
Yeah.
They look really good. As does Atlantis. And Mira's got Arm, and they're doing their thing. and that's all going
It's
on.
like, Orm has grown on me as one of my favorite a-holes in comics. Like, he's up there with Guy Gardner now. So he's like, look, I'm gonna go become a water monster, and I'm putting all my trust in you. You better figure this out. And then he just jumps in.
I really like the page where Superman does the Hulk clap.
Yeah.
Because where the source of the flood's coming from, and obviously we have these different sea gods. One's with Aquaman, of course. Aquaman's held captive, and Black Manta shows up. And I think the big plot point from the issue that we really need to talk about is that the sea god takes Aquaman's powers away from him and gives them to Aquaman, or gives them to Black Manta. That sentence made no sense. But you know what I mean?
I know what you were saying.
Yeah. She takes Aquaman's powers and gives it to Black Manta, and he's like, wait, you had all this power inside you all the time, and you used it to talk to fish, implying that his connection to the ocean is actually much deeper than that, but Aquaman never understood it as well as he thought he did.
Which makes me think that Black Manta is not going to be able to understand it as well, because he's so driven by vengeance.
He certainly thinks he will at this point, but we'll see.
We've seen how that's ended up for him in the past, but yeah, and we also get what Orm and Mera were after is the
MacGuffin.
page?
Just call it what it is. Yeah. The MacGuffin.
It's the MacGuffin, but there's a name of it because it's
supposed. The crown, Tier of Extinction. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It's Arian's crown. It's in that.
Yeah, but isn't that what they touched on with Cheetah? Isn't that what killed Poseidon? Was the Tier of Extinction?
Yeah, you might be right. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I is the Crown of Arian the thing that's going to counteract that? Is that what's going to give Poseidon the power, back? Is that, I don't know.
Maybe. It would surprise me if Aquaman ends up wielding the power of Poseidon at the end of this, just to win the day. So there's multiple of these sea gods. One's fighting Mera and Orm in Atlantis. One's with Superman with a kraken. Might I say the flood, which is a kraken. Remember the kraken,
which is a weapon from one of these planets. Like, he's training them. It reminded me of Jurek Biss from the Aquaman series.
Yeah,
where he wields these krakens, and this is just one of them. Could you imagine what multiple could have done?
Yeah, no, it's really this feels really big and blockbustery in a lot of fun ways, and even the cliffhanger. But after, because the big plot point at the end is really Black Manta getting Aquaman's powers, and that's a big deal. But then it cuts to just these random fishmon men who are part of the villains, and they're like pirates. And one of them's looking at a telescope, like, I see something in the distance, something's coming towards us. And then you see like a glimpse of a shield, you see a glimpse of this and that, and it's like Wonder Woman. She's like, okay, where is that? Because I'm like, oh yeah, we've not seen her all issue.
Yeah,
she's been missing. So
she shows up looking like a badass.
Help's coming. And how's Cheetah going to fit into this? I feel like she might.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I mean, remember, she gets her powers from a dark god as well, from Erskatega. So I wonder if that's going to affect anything. Maybe that's why she took the tier, is to go kill him, and that's what she's doing.
I wonder if the lasso protects her from the water turning her into something, because it'll keep her true, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I can see that.
We'll see.
Yeah. No, I thought this was really big and bombastic and fun in all the ways that I like. Sure, the idea that the world's all turned into fish monsters is really silly, but I'm kind of having a blast with this one in a way that I think the witching hour never quite hit for me.
Makes sense. This is a little more concise than I think Witching Hour was, because even through that first issue of Justice League, in this it feels more narrow and focused than Witching Hour did through the two.
Which is strange, because you've got all these League members doing all these things all over the planet, but it feels a bit more focused and succinct to me, and natural. But no, I like the art a lot. The art's very stylized. It may not be to everyone's taste, but I actually really liked how sort of bulky and cartoony kind of everything felt.
It takes a little bit to get used to, but once you are, it feels right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because his action scenes come together right,
Oh, the action scenes are fantastic. Superman fighting that Kraken was great.
Cool.
Barry accidentally running into the Kraken's mouth, also gold moment. So I'm super into this. I'm looking forward to the next. I think the next part is next week, but there's a week off after that, I think. But I'm digging Drowned Earth so far. yeah, I don't really have anything I
Yeah.
would even complain about. I don't think.
No, I just the names of the sea god characters are a little on the
Oh
nose.
sure, yeah.
You know, they're like Tide and Dreadnought and these very Earth names, which I guess that's fine with translation and
Yeah,
whatnot.
do you know?
But
I
you
wish
know,
they're all right. They're serving their plot purposes very well. I wish each one of them was a little bit more interesting on their own, just so I could remember who they were a bit more clearly. Whereas right now, okay, there's
yeah,
the woman one who's with Arthur, there's the big bearded one in Atlantis, and then there's the one fighting Superman, and that's
yeah.
basically my distinctions right now between
Mhm.
them. But I'm
I
digging the
almost
story.
wish these were the Dark Gods. You know, that were teased at the end of No Justice.
Oh
Then,
sure, yeah.
you know, so
No, Robinson did that story. That was in Wonder Woman.
yeah, I know. I try not to think about it.
But yeah, we had that. So
Mhm.
I'm digging this a lot. Drowned Earth was exactly a little bit dumb, but in the best kind of way. Big kind of blockbuster story, and most of the main characters who are still around, obviously Jean and Hawkwoman or Hawkgirl, sorry, and Green Lantern are off, or John specifically are off Earth. But I really dug everyone's sort of inclusion in this. I think they all had some big moments. Obviously, Aquaman's at the focus, but
Mhm.
they all had their thing. And even like Batman staying behind with the Hall of Justice when McGann's like pleading with him not to stay
Yep.
because it's dangerous. Yeah, all that stuff was good. Flowed really well. So, what are you giving the Drowned Earth issue 1? That's what it's called.
Yeah, this is an 8 as well.
Yeah, I'd give this a solid 8. I'd have a lot of fun with this. It's not reinventing wheels. It's not doing some big great thing. I do think Black Manta having Aquaman's powers is a really interesting idea for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be obviously reversed by the end of the story or whatever, but it's a
Yeah.
really fascinating thing to think about for a little while. And yeah, big krakens and fish monsters and flooded cities. This is good stuff. I'm digging it. I'm digging Drowned Earth.
Oh, there you go.
We'll move on then to the Terrifics Annual #1, which has 3 stories in it. It's got a main story by Jean Lun Yang, which is cool because I was like, oh, I've not seen him in a while
Yeah.
since New
New
Superman
Superman.
ended. And then we have a story by Mark Russell, and we have a story by James Asmus in terms of writing. And then on the art side, we have Joe Bennett, Jose Lewis, and Doc Shaner. So the art team across the board's pretty solid there. Hard to
Yeah.
fault.
And the writing, like, so we all know that Lemire is doing this as DC's Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
but I feel like Yang really tapped into what this team can be after all of this Dr. Dread stuff is over.
Oh, sure.
Because that story might be the most fun I had all week reading comics.
Yeah, because I think that the 2 backups are kind of loosely tied into the main
Yeah.
story of the book. We'll get to them in a minute. The first story, though, is a plot about Plastic Man DNA that was mixed with like a knockoff T-sphere, an S-sphere specifically,
Yeah.
which creates
Body
clones.
snatchers.
Yeah, body snatchers, essentially. It cocoons people in a Plastic Man-style cocoon, and then a clone of that person will be walking around, including the boy the Phantom Girl's into at the park. It's a Halloween party, so it's Halloween themed as well. Which, by the way, I love that she went as Phantom of the Opera.
Fellow the Opera, because
That-
she's Phantom Girl.
That's gold.
Yeah.
That's gold.
And I love that Rex and Plastic Man are going back and forth over
Yeah.
transforming into different things, and they end up playing Twister to settle their differences. Like,
But-
it kept the fun and the Silver Aginess, because this felt like an issue that would have been around, like, the Terrifics Halloween special.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Which-
and
I have to say though, like, why would you ever agree to play Twister with Plastic Man? He's got an advantage that, like, no one can
but
beat
so
him.
does Rex. Rex can do all sorts of that stuff too. So, it's not
Yeah,
like they're
but-
regular people.
Plastic Man's still got the advantage in Twister.
See, I feel this is the difference between us. You're a Plastic Man guy. I'm a Metamorpho guy.
This is not about picking
like-
favorites. This is just pure logic. It can
Yeah, but he can stretch too. Rex can do all sorts of stuff with his body because he can transmute into different things.
he
You
can
know?
transmute, but that doesn't necessarily make him bend over things the way that Plastic Man can.
If he transmutes into rubber, why not? I'm just saying.
It's a dumb conversation. Anyway, So Mr. Terrific's all nervous, and we find out it's because he's got the hots for one of the people who works at Stag Industries that's at the party. But she turns out to be a body snatched person because a real body falls from the the roof. What I like about it is at the end when the kind of sad point is that both the people, the love interest for both Terrific and Phantom Girl, both of them kind of like they both tried to talk to the real person afterwards, but it wasn't quite the same. It was like they were actually attracted to the fake versions more so.
Phantom Boy ended up being a copy of Plastic Man's son, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's his son because we don't know that at first, but yeah, Plastic Man sees him, it comes up,
and because it's his DNA, it also retains some of his memories weirdly, and so when the jig's up, the copies become like old villains and whatnot that Plastic Man's fought.
Yeah, it's all Plastic Man villains. Yeah, that's right.
Which was really cool, and just the whole T-sphere in the putty reminded me of the responsometers for the Metalmen. I don't know if you're familiar with the Metalmen at all.
Oh yeah, Metalmen. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what makes them work. So it gave it that kind of vibe. Like, hey, you just stick this in this thing, and that's what makes it work. But yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. I like this story a lot. What I didn't like though was Yang taking a cop out on what Phantom Girl's real name is. She's like, oh, you wouldn't be able to pronounce it right. I'm like, it's just Linya. Like, it's not that difficult, But
isn't Linya short for the full thing though?
I think so, but why couldn't she just say my name's Linya? I don't know, but yeah, no, it felt nice for Yang to be writing a team that doesn't have to be serious. It can still tell a nice story.
Yeah, it's basically like Justice League of China.
Exactly, and so yeah. So if Lemire ever needs to stop Terrifics or they need a new writer, I'm fully confident that Yang can tell these fun stories.
So the second story is about Java, and about how he's a Neanderthal and how he's been alive for a long time, and kind of his origins and how smarter humans came along and it became much harder for him and his people because the smarter people weren't bad to them necessarily. They just got better at hunting because they had tools and because they had tactics,
technology,
and things like that. Yeah. And he ends up frozen in ice like Captain America, right? Which I'm going to be honest. I had no idea this was his backstory.
I think Java's kind of a new character.
Is he?
I feel like he's because I feel like he's based on the one from Teen Titans. What was his name?
Mammoth.
Mark? No, Mammoth was the villain. You remember in Titans Hunt and Cave Boy.
So
yeah.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting that he's got this hefty backstory. But he got smart. Basically, scientists made him smart, and it's basically just a sort of setup for why he has this motivation to become the smartest and become the Dr. Dread of the world, because he wants to be smarter than everyone else and manipulate everyone because now he's got the upper hand. Now he's the one who's ahead of the curve. It was pretty simple. This is probably my least favorite of the stories.
Yeah, I wanted to like it more because of the caveman stuff, but I did like the story. But it was very tropey. In that, natural selection came, put pressures on the Neanderthal, and they couldn't survive. So,
yeah, it felt like one of those things. Okay, we need to fill this up so it was an annual. So here's a story that didn't really need to be told, but it's just okay. The final story, which is the Shaner in James Asmus story. That is again tied into what's going on in the book. This was the story of Tom Strong and how he ended up on that celestial being and left that message. And again, it feels kind of like I think the first story is the best one because it is this just standalone fun story.
Yeah.
This one's fun. It looks good. The art's good, and
the art's really good. The story it got up in some technobabble. It's
a lot of technobabble, and ultimately it's like, well, we didn't really need to know much of this. It's fine.
It's kind of where it left us. Like, he fought that big titan that they ended up in the first arc of Terrifics, and it showed how he left his communication device.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, okay, well, I don't think anybody asked.
Yeah, it almost treated it like it was a plot hole that people were complaining about and had to
Yeah.
be explained, but no one actually cared. You know,
No.
why did they leave the beacon on if he was gone and he was okay? No one even really thought about it, but
No.
it was answered. So here it is.
Yeah. So I just pulled up Java, and yeah, he's been around since 65.
He's a new character, Matt. Shame on you.
Shame on me. He did become the Shaggy Man for a minute.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's cool.
Huh.
But yeah, he's always been a thorn in the side of Metamorpho, just because he has a thing for Sapphire Stag. But yeah.
Okay. Now, I like the first story a lot. I thought it was good fun. It's exactly why I like the Terrifics. It's exactly the sort of stuff that Lemire does.
Yeah.
And then the art in all three stories was pretty good. But the two backups I felt were fine enough for what they were. I especially liked the art in the Shaner, Tom Strong story. But they felt kind of like, oh, we don't really need these. They're just kind of these superfluous, like... It kind of felt like that thing where you get these little... It's like a prequel that doesn't need to be a prequel. It doesn't need to exist. Yeah. It's just kind of there to fill in something that didn't need to be filled in. So it feels a little bit like, okay, this is nice enough, but...
Like when Lost decided that they needed an endpoint. When we got those episodes about Jack's tattoos.
Oh, yes.
That's what this kind of felt like. It was like, well, we didn't need it, but thanks, I guess.
They're okay. I sometimes I just have this feeling where there's clearly the main story, and then you'll have the backups that are there to make it up to the page count. And it felt like, oh, but you have to fill this page count so someone come up with a story, as opposed to, oh, I've got a good idea for a story, put a backup in.
I much rather would have had a Plastic Man versus Metamorpho kind of story where they're, messing with each other in Stag in the building or whatnot.
I would have taken a story about them picking their Halloween costumes and just...
Yeah.
That's all it is. Do that.
Yeah. But no, that first story was worth it, I feel.
I think that's maybe what hurts the other two stories as well a little bit, is that the Terrifics themselves aren't in it.
Yeah.
So, that's okay. That's not the end of the world. You can have something focusing on a side character or a villain, but it's just like, I'm here for the four of them, and they're so fun. But, hey. Not bad though, by any means. So what are we going to rate the Terrifics annual?
So I wanted to give it a high mark because of that first story, but the other two kind of drag it down. Then the art drags it back up.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give it a 7. But I wanted to go higher, but those two stories you really can't.
Okay. I'll go 7.5. I think. Again, the first story is definitely the best one. Yeah. I think if I was rating them individually, it'd be like an 8 and then like a 6 and a 6.5 or something like that. But I'm rounding it down to overall a 7.5. So that'll take us out to Batman Secret Files issue 1, which I read. You started reading but didn't finish. You read like one story in it.
I read the Tom King story. I got halfway through the second one and went, okay, I'll read this later. And then when it came time to record, I'd rather have read the Yogi Deathstroke crossover.
Yes, which we'll get to in a minute. So this is an anthology book, so it's all short stories and some notable creators. I'll say them as I'm going here. Not all the title pages at the start of the bookstore, so I may have to wait till the end of the story to tell you. The first one, though, is Tom King and Mikael Janin, so obviously the art is gorgeous. And
Fantastic.
this is a simple little story about Superman. He found in the Phantom Zone some platinum kryptonite. And platinum kryptonite will give a human Superman's powers. It'll give them Kryptonian geology, I guess.
Right. Which used to be the silver kryptonite.
Genealogy. I said geology. It's not geology.
Yeah.
Genealogy. And he leaves it for him. Batman doesn't take it right away. He just has to touch it. And he has this sort of brief kind of flash of what might happen if he has heat vision. And he's got the Joker, and Joker's got like a hostage at gunpoint, and Batman's eyes light up like heat vision style, and he squeezes his hands so tight that he hurts his knuckles, and it's this pain of, it's basically the question of like, is he enough on his own, and should he take the power if it's offered, this kind of thing. It's not even answering it. It's just posing that question. So
I didn't even take that part into account. I thought this was kind of more of a what if. Like, even the Superman finding the silver krypton or the platinum kryptonite, It makes so much more sense now that that was a thought in his head and him squeezing his hand.
Oh sure,
Wow.
yeah. Because it's all
Yeah.
tinted red, so it's not like
Yeah.
it's clearly
I,
made different.
see, I thought that was a him, like a jump forward, you know?
All right, no, I thought that
Yeah.
was him considering
Um,
what would happen
no,
if
I think
yeah
you're right
yeah
and completely changed how I read it because this kind of story kind of made me upset. I was like, why are you introducing platinum kryptonite? Like, this feels just like a throwaway story, like a what if. And then I got to the next story. I was like, oh, that's exactly what it is. But no, this fits into the overall the overall King Batman story.
yeah. Because the last thing he says to Alfred after he drops
Am I
the
enough?
cup, Alfred, am I enough? It's that existential dread that he's no matter how hard he
Uh,
tries, he's never going to be enough. You could even argue that the Superman giving him the kryptonite itself is even not real. Like it's just a thought he's having.
yeah.
I don't think it is. I think it is there, but like you could argue that, and it's just him thinking about, could I do more with Superman's powers? But at the same time, is it dangerous? Like, could I handle those powers? Am I as good as Clark? Can I actually deal with the temptation to use them in the right way? So, no, I mean it's really simple. It's like 3 pages, 4 pages maybe.
Yeah.
It's
Art
3,
looks really good.
3 pages. Yeah, that's really good. Poses a very simple question, and that's it. So it's a little 3-page story. Next up, we've got The Nature of Fear, which is Ram V is the writer, and we have Jorge Fornes as the artist. And this
Just
is
show you how my stupid brain works. I read that as Ram 5, not V. Because for whatever reason, my dumb brain thought it was a Roman numeral.
maybe he's given himself like a cool hip name. It's like he's changed his name to Ram
Maybe.
5, but I
I
doubt
don't
it.
know, but Ram V, Ram 5. Ah, jeez.
So, this is a story of a police officer who was in an incident involving Scarecrow and was gassed by Scarecrow, and he's in therapy, and it's like a post-interview, and he's telling the doctor the story of what happened and how he went to this routine kind of disturbance call. It turned out it wasn't just that; it was Scarecrow, and it's this story about how he was hit with the fear gas, and he describes like someone dropping in from the roof. And it's Batman, but most of the art in this book, every so often we'll see what he really looks like, and it's really Batman. But most of it's from the POV of the guy with the fear gas, so it's like a big, giant, horrific-looking bat. And it's this idea
Very
that
reminiscent of what the Scarecrow saw in Batman Begins.
kind of, yeah. But this is this is almost
It was like
Man-Bat-esque looking
yeah,
kind of
like
thing.
a bat demon.
So and he's pulling him out, and he's basically rescuing this cop, and he's telling the cop, like, don't imagine there's hope at the end of the tunnel because that's how fear gets you. You just have to accept that it's always going to be bad and it's always going to be scary, and you just have to cope with it. And there's like a noise from the next room for when he's getting interviewed, or when he's in the hospital, and the twist is that it's really him next door, and he actually is still in his own head, and he's still terrified, and he's not scared of Scarecrow anymore, but the fear's still there. And it's I kind of liked reading this one. I liked kind of the overall theme of it. I'm not sure if the final point kind of lands home for me that well. Like, I'm not sure if it's saying that Batman, because he also deals in fear, he couldn't help this person get over fear, and therefore he is now, the gas is still working, so he's terrified of Batman now instead. Or is it just this idea that he's so terrified that Batman, the hero who they all look up to, if they're looking up to him and he deals in this dark place, then there truly is no hope and we're all screwed. Which he kind of says at one point, but I'm not sure exactly what it's saying at the end. I'm a little conflicted upon the message.
Yeah, that sounds.
I do think it's relatively well told though, and it's got a good little atmosphere as it's going through its story. So, and I like the art as well. Actually, the art's very it's almost Lark looking at times. The way the guy draws the
Sometimes, yeah, the coloring's a little bit different than Lark.
That's true,
though.
yeah.
So it doesn't feel just like Lark, but yeah, from what I flipped through, the art was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Because that demon bat looks cool. Like, that's a great design.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the twist is basically the fear gas has still got him. He's not over it. He's still
right.
This is the tragedy of going through this. So then we have the next story. The title page at the end. So bear with me. This is a story about a Wayne Tech drone that has been bought by a villain, because Batman goes to a crime scene with Gordon, and some gangsters have all been shot dead, and they're trying to look for the killer, and Batman finds this witness, and she says it was a machine with a Wayne Enterprises logo on it, and he goes to confront Lucius, and I wasn't a big fan of this story. I thought this was kind of weird, this one, mainly because I thought the confrontation with Lucius was kind of hostile between both of them. It was like they were arguing about like how culpable Lucius is in all this and what he should be doing, and it just, I don't know, it felt kind of off to me, and I didn't really appreciate it. But they shut down the drone remotely. They have a back door into it before it gets to the witness who it's going to kill for being a witness, and that's basically the whole story. I will say the art made Lucius. He looked kind of like Gus Fring from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad in one of the panels, and it really,
it's not a bad take.
Stuck out to me. That was
He can't always be Morgan Freeman.
Of course right? Not.
Yeah.
This was Cheryl Lynn Eaton writing and Elena Casagrande on the art. I wasn't fond of this one. This one was kind of murky to me. And the Batman's dialogue was a bit overwritten. Like when he was interviewing the witness, it was kind of a bit much.
And who wrote this one?
This was Cheryl Lynn Eaton. So I'm not sure who that is. I've never really heard of her.
Yeah.
The next story is Batman in he's heard that there's a monster attacking up in the mountains in Gotham. So it's up in the snowy landscape. So it's Batman in a cabin up in the snow, and he's going hunting for this monster, and he thinks it's maybe Man-Bat. There's been rough reports of a monster attacking people. He doesn't know who it is. He thinks it's Man-Bat. So he's there on his own. So here's the weird thing, though. I actually really like the setting of this story, and I like the idea of him being up in this cabin on his own, like hunting. He's got like a bow and arrow. It's just very Oliver Queen almost. But he has some weird narration early on that really kind of threw me for a loop. He says let me just read the exact dialogue. He's like, something covered in here, something remarkably large, blah, blah, blah. I can handle large, but what I can't handle is how damn lonely it is up here. Alfred says I could use some alone time. Truth is, I'm not a fan of it myself. Batman's not a fan of
Batman,
being...
That's an imposter.
Yeah, Batman's not a fan of being alone. What? What?
That's like his thing.
Batman loves being alone. He's a loner. And he's got like a non-kill. He's got like a ski mask that doesn't have a kill, but he's got the rest of the bat suit on. It's kind of weird when he's out in the snow.
Like I could see Oliver Queen saying that, right? Because he's always surrounded by people. But Batman, that's just a false statement because that dude loves to be in the Batcave by himself. Like he gets mad when Alfred bothers him.
You can argue that this is more of an existential thing, and it's just what he really feels, even though he always lets on that he's happy being alone. But basically, there's never actually a monster. Like he hears creaks in the night. He thinks he sees things. He shoots out something at one point with his bow and arrow, and it ends up in a deer. And yeah, it just kind of ends there. What's weird is Jordi Belair wrote this, and
who's usually a writer or artist.
That's both. She does both, but. I wasn't feeling this one as much as I thought I would, but because when it started, I thought, oh, this is cool. It's a snowy set, and he's in the woods on his own, hunting a beast. Like this could be something. I wasn't feeling it. Jill Thompson did the art, and that's okay. But yeah, I don't see you, but you can see me. I hope it's enough. And so I think this is supposed to be more symbolic than it is an actual story, but I'm not quite grasping.
I like the idea of Batman versus Bigfoot.
Yeah, I think it's maybe about Batman's anxiety and about his fears, and I don't know, but it never quite clicked for me either. It was kind of a shame because I thought, and again, it's just weird because I would expect better from Belair. It was just right away, it just threw me for a loop. Like Batman's not a fan of being on his own. What? Weird. I'm open to interpretations though. If someone in the comments wants to give me a bit of an analysis on this one and tell me what I'm missing, by all means, go for it. Next up, we have the story involving Detective Chimp, where Detective Chimp is in Gotham with Batman because he wants Batman's help, because the man who freed him, the man who freed him from the cage, and it even it gives you a little editor's note saying Dark Knight's Metal Rising Wild Hunt issue 1. His son has fallen in with a bad crowd in Gotham, and he's traced it back. They do a bit of digging, and it seems that someone's given him a gun. He's part of a group now, and it seems to be that he's a Riddler henchman. So Batman's giving him a help, and Detective Chimp is kind of like, wait, why don't you want to go together? Because Batman says, "I'll meet me at this corner later." He's like, why not go together? You embarrassed to be seen with me? He says that, and he assumes he's been underestimated. But they go track down Riddler, and basically, Detective Chimp almost treats Batman here like he's kind of the unsympathetic cop, because Detective Chimp, chases down the kid. And the kid, in fear, not realizing what he's doing, actually uses the gun and shoots Detective Chimp. Chimp goes down, and he tells the kid to run, because the kid immediately is apologetic. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," and he's like, kind of horrified at what he did, and he drops the gun. And Chimp tells him to leave, and he says, much like his dad said to Chimp, "You don't belong in a cage." And he tries to say to Batman, "Don't worry, he's gone. I'm not hurt." And he gets up, and he's clearly hurt. The art shows that he is in pain, and he's bleeding as he stands up. And he says the kid was trapped on a path. This is his chance to step off of it. He lost his dad to violence. Anything you can relate to, obviously Batman does.
Right.
And Batman says, "I never underestimated you, and I'm not embarrassed to be seen with you." And he almost cracks a joke. He's like, "Come on, I know you're not hurt, but let's just go to the hospital anyway, eh?" And he's like, yeah, I'm going to bleed in your car, though. He's like, "Yeah, many have bled before, many will bleed again, it's fine." So it's actually a really sweet story where Batman's being Batman. He's like, no, he's a criminal now. If he hurts anyone with that gun, then he's one of the criminals, and my war's against criminals. And Chimp's like, no, he's not lost yet. He's made a bad turn, but he can still be saved. And he kind of convinces Batman by that end, and he does it through this immense pain. He does it through this act of selflessness, where he insists that he's not hurt even though he's been shot. And it's this struggle, and it's something Batman actually understands and recognizes, and realizes that he's right, and respects that Chimp is going to the lengths that he is to make sure that Batman doesn't do the wrong thing here, and doesn't overly prosecute him for what he's done. That maybe he has learned his lesson. So that was by Tom Taylor, and art by Brad Walker. I thought Brad Walker's art was a little bit iffy. I thought his Chimp looks great. His Batman looks kind of weird though, at times. His Batman's head just looks kind of fat in places, which I thought was a bit weird.
Okay.
But Chimp looks pretty good. Like I say, like Chimp getting up when he was been shot and stuff did look pretty good and expressive. But Batman looked a bit iffy. Interestingly, Jordi Belair did the colouring on this one.
There you go.
There's that name popping up again. But yeah, Tom Taylor's a fantastic writer, and he does not do. I know he does Injustice, but in terms of mainline DC stuff, he doesn't do much. So it's nice to get a little tease of a Batman book from him here. I am hoping he will do a full-time DC ongoing in the future. Marvel are keeping him busy though.
They are.
Yeah.
Man, I remember when Tom Taylor was only writing Earth 2, and I think Injustice. So he was just dealing with alternate worlds of DC.
The dude needs to get bigger profile work at DC. He's got X-Men Red. He's got a new Spider-Man book coming. So there's plenty of Tom King to enjoy. But being a DC guy, I want him on DC stuff. But I think what I liked about that story though, that was the last one of the book, by the way. I liked that. It kind of, it made Batman kind of be the villain, not in a bad way, but it was kind of.
He's the antagonist.
Yeah. But Batman realizes that he has been the antagonist, and I kind of like that. It kind of flipped on its head at the end. Had a nice little message about rehabilitation, and it's funny. This week's episode of Black Lightning kind of had a scene, kind of not. It wasn't told in the same way, but it made the same point. And I thought that was just an interesting little thematic touch. But no, if I'm rating it's kind of a weird book. Anthology books are always kind of weird to rate and kind of consider. But I like the Tom King story. I like the Tom Taylor story. And I liked the Scarecrow one. Wasn't feeling the other two though, as much. Yeah. But 3 out of 5 ain't bad.
No, not bad at all.
3 out of 5 ain't bad. Probably a 7 overall, I'd say. It's got a couple of weak stories. Even the Scarecrow one I liked, I was a little murky on maybe the final point a little bit. But yeah, if people want to give me interpretations of the Bel-Air one, though, if I'm missing kind of the point of that story, by all means,
Yeah,
hit me up.
I wanna go back and read that one now, just mainly because of Batman and Bigfoot.
But yeah, so that's that. That does take us on to Deathstroke Yogi Bear Special Issue 1.
Yeah, buddy.
JM DeMatties on the art, writing along with Frank Tieri, and then art is by Tom Mandrake and Mark Texeira. I assume that's two different stories, though. That's all. You have one team.
Yeah,
on one
there's one I didn't read the backup. That's the first part.
Who did the main story then? Who was the writer and the artist on that?
That was. Let me pull that up. I want to say it was Frank Tieri.
Cool.
Cause that's the name I remember standing up. But let me go back.
Kellinaire.
Yeah, Frank Tieri, Mark Texeira, the artist.
Cool.
Yeah, but so it's basically Yogi doing what he does, stealing picnic baskets in Jellystone. He gets chased by the park ranger, and he ends up ducking behind the secret waterfall, and Boo Boo's there. And he turns around, and Boo Boo's gone. So he's like, okay, well, this is weird.
Deathstroke
I need to get someone. No, so it shifts to this Western bar, and there's these Hanna-Barbera characters there. They are Dastardly, and where's the other brother? Where's that at? Is he shooting? Oh, Dastardly Dalton and Dirty Dalton. And they're arguing who's a better shot, Quick Draw McGraw or Ricochet Rabbit. And so they're treating them like these characters are real. Like, and then Deathstroke comes, he's like, well, clearly you guys are both dumb because Quick Draw McGraw's a horse, and horses have hooves, so he can't even pull a trigger. So it just, there's a weird setup in all of this. Like, the Hanna-Barbera characters are real, but not in that way of the Batman Elmer Fudd, where they're, humanized versions. Because we see Yogi, who looks like a grizzly bear, wearing a hat and a necktie. So he ends up taking out these two brothers because there's a contract on them, but they're worth more alive than dead. So he takes it easy. He ends up fighting their bigger brother, Dinky Dalton, who has to kick down with a nut shot. Because as Deathstroke's always been told, the bigger they are, the harder you have to kick them in the junk, or kick them in the groin. He says so. At the end of that scene, Yogi comes up and kind of sneaks up on him, and it looks a little bit more sinister. But he's like, "Hey, I heard you're the best at finding people. I need to find my best buddy. I'll pay you." So they end up going to Jellystone. You get this really fun image of Deathstroke in full Deathstroke gear, on a motorcycle with Yogi holding onto him in the back. So it becomes a cartoon from here on out, where you find out that Deathstroke's taking out everybody from King Shark to Jabberjaw, Killer Croc to Wally Gator, Gorilla Grodd to Grape Ape, right? So they're playing with it here. They end up in Jellystone, and this Yogi tells them, like, you got to be careful. All the animals here they've changed. So I know you're the best, but they've become more dangerous. And as soon as he says that, this rabbit jumps onto Deathstroke's face, and Deathstroke has to kill him because it's this rabbit. And Yogi's like, oh no, that was my neighbor Fred. What'd you do? He's like, well, he was attacking me. And he's like, that's what I mean. They've become more dangerous, and they go and inspect the dead body, and this rabbit has fangs and claws. So something strange afoot in Jellystone. So they pull up to the lodge, and all the animals look sinister. There's eagles that have even longer claws and beaks, and deer with fangs and whatnot. And they're attacking all the humans, Hitchcock style. And Deathstroke ends up saving Ranger Smith. And they all team up to find out what's going on. They go to the last place Yogi saw Boo Boo, which is Yogi's secret hideout where he hides from Ranger Smith. Ranger Smith's upset because he's like, oh, you guys were under my nose the whole time. And they end up going down this ladder in the secret base, and it ends up that it's Hive, that's been changing all these animals. So Deathstroke ends up taking them all out. You come to find out that it's these Hanna-Barbera characters are all being taken to be changed into these terrible, violent creatures, and that it is the creepily family from old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So I don't know if you are familiar with Hanna-Barbera at all, but there was a series called Laugh Olympics, and that's who these characters were based off of the Really Rottens team. I had to look them up because like they seem familiar, but I couldn't remember what from. But their name are weirdly, creepily, and creepella. And they're these, goth-looking vampire kind of characters. And they're changing the characters for Hive. They end up being let out by Yogi. Yogi pretends to faint and hits the release. So they all come out and take them out. Deathstroke, of course, finishes the contract because he helped Yogi out. Yogi pays him in picnic baskets, of course. So he comes out, and there's this stack of picnic baskets that gets delivered. And you come to find out that the Creeplies didn't die, and that they're going to continue their experiments, but they set it up under the Laugh Olympics. So at the end, they're injecting all the people with free vitamin shots, or all the characters. And it seems like a to be continued. So it was this really zany, crazy, fun story of Yogi teaming up with Deathstroke, which you don't think make a good team. But it was surprisingly more violent than I thought it was going to be. With the Creeplies have this pet octopus that that Deathstroke ends up chopping all the limbs off of and using as weapons. So yeah, it's quite weird. I'm glad I read it though because it was a lot of fun. I like what they're doing with these Hanna-Barbera. Like this one, like where's the Booster Gold Flintstones one, which I think was the last one I read, was like there was some existentialism in that one. This one is just straight up like, hey, we're gonna throw Deathstroke into the Hanna-Barbera world and see how they match. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think I saw like maybe 2 episodes of Yogi Bears growing up, so I have no attachment to the
Yogi
character.
was always my favorite. Says my wife came up to me, she's like, "Well, what do you have left to read?" And I was like, "Yogi Bear and Deathstroke." She goes, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love Yogi Bear." She's like, "No, I know." But she knew him teaming up with Deathstroke was weird because she only knows Deathstroke from the end of the Justice League movie, and then from him yelling "Shadow" on Arrow. So it just doesn't make sense to her.
Shadow. All right.
But yeah.
So we give it. What you rating?
The art was really rough in patches, and the story was just silly, but out of nostalgia, it was fun. But I can't give it anything higher than a 6 because it's just kind of there. I'm glad that they're doing these though because it gives creators a chance to stretch and just be goofy without having to bring to others. But yeah.
That's cool. I haven't read any of the specials this time. Nothing was sticking out to me quite as much. Although I know Connor had his eye on Superman Top Cat, but But hey, so one final book to talk about this week. Not a new book, but one of the perks we have at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV is the punishment picks for me and Connor, where one of the higher tiers you can make us read a book once per month. And the book that I am forced to read right now is Hawk and Dove from the New 52. This is issue 5 of said series. Sterling Gates writing, Rob Lefield on the art. And if you recall from issue 4, Condor and Swan. Thank you.
I hate that I know that.
Yes, thank you. They kidnapped Dead Man. That was kind of the big ruse. And we find out in this one that they kidnapped Dead Man because his connection with their crystal will open a realm to the magic world, the other dimension, whatever you want to call it. So they go in there, and the bulk of the issue is Hawk and Dove kind of tracking down. They got some information that leads to a demon named I think it's Gob, but I read it as Job because of Arrested Development.
He's made a huge mistake.
He made a huge mistake. So they're chasing this guy down for information, and then he eventually tells them where they're to go and where to access this magic world. So fine and well. I want to mention, obviously, I mean, Rob Lefield's art's not that great, but I do want to mention one particular thing here. Well, two things. I want to mention that there's I think, because I'm reading this digitally, there was a page that was like a weird shape, and it took me a second to realise what it probably was. I think it was a double page spread that was vertical, where you had to, if you were reading it physically, you'd have to turn it and...
Oh, okay.
Right? Because I got to a page where the shape changed a little bit, but it was like filling up the entire screen almost. And I was like, what is this weird shape? And I was like, oh, it's like a double page spread where you turn it sideways if you were reading it physically. So that was kind of weird, but it was cool. It's not a complaint, it's just an observation. I don't think I'd ever encountered that digitally before. And then the other thing, though, which is a complaint, a very big complaint, is at one point, Hawk is like, hey, Dove, before we get to save your boyfriend there, can we, like, talk, just me and you, out of costume, just, you know, as regular people? And she's like, okay, so they turn it to the regular, like, civilian clothes. And not that it's tasteful any of the other time, but you know that trope that, you know, bad artists, when they're sexualizing female characters, it looks like their shirt or whatever is just painted on rather than actually being a shirt. This is one of the most egregious examples of this I've ever seen. Dawn's boobs are like so round, and they have, it's like the shirt is tucking underneath the boobs, and there's like shadow from the boobs on her, like, that's not how a shirt works.
No, not at all.
Shirts don't tuck underneath, and it just looks so bad, and but it's one of those things where it's also like, oh, like I feel weird even looking at this. Like, I feel like some sort of grotty asshole. It's just, oh no, it's just really bad. I mean, not that the rest of the art was good, but it was just, that particular moment was especially egregious and just took me out of the moment, and I was like, come on.
That's terrible.
But basically, Hawk's like, hey, maybe you should split up with that dead man, because he was kind of how they found us in the first place. He's kind of dangerous. We have no idea what it could mean. And Dove gets really upset. In fact, one of the plot points is that when they're interrogating the demon dude, she actually is the one who goes all bad cop, and, you know, Hawk's like, I'm the bad cop usually. You're not supposed to be like that.
Right.
But they eventually get to the magic door, and they go into, and they find Condor and Swan. However, there's a hint earlier on where they're walking, when Condor and Swan are first walking through the magic door with Dead Man after he opens it, where Connor says, you know, I will be the most powerful, or something like that, and she says, you mean we, right? And then when later on, when Hawk and Dove come through the door, Swan's dead. Condor's killed her and taken her power, like Jet Li in The One, and he and Dead Man's looking not great either, but, you know, he's already dead anyway. So basically, he can feed off dead people's, like, power, and he's going to want to do this to Hawk and Dove as well. But he now no longer looks like just Hawk with different colours. He actually looks like kind of like how in the Batman story in the anthology was he looks like a giant bat. Now he looks like a giant condor, but he's speaking and stuff. So they fight, and Hawk gets knocked down. Dove's kind of pissed, obviously, and fighting, and then she wins the fight because, and it's a shame Connor's not here for this because he would get this reference. It reminded me of something from the end of a movie called God Told Me To. And I will describe it as such. She has a vagina stomach of light that blasts Condor in the face, and it's so powerful that he can't contain it, and he begs for mercy.
What?
So, if you remember, the last couple of issues, there was that fight between Spawn and Dove where Dove had that power where the light came out of her when she got stabbed, and it kind of beat Swan, right? And because she's like, oh, I guess Swan never told you how I beat her, and then she just kind of willingly opens up her like a cut in her stomach, and this light comes out, and it's the idea that the Avatar of Peace is as strong as they are because the behind Peace does all this conflict that the Peace has to make sure is always at bay. So that's this power that's coming out of her. I don't know. I'm explaining it the best I can. Do you know what? I'll get the actual dialogue. I don't want to mince words here.
Please don't.
I'm going to get the actual dialogue here. This was it going off the deep end though. This was the book jumping the shark if it hadn't already. Right, where are we? Where are we? Where's the stomach vagina of light? Right, it's coming out of her stomach. Yes. Yeah, because I think Condor slashes her on the stomach, and then that's when she goes, "Oh, I guess she never told you how I won the fight." So here's the dialogue. I'm the opposite of Hawk in some ways, Condor. I can be serene, focused, trying to keep the peace during bad situations. But if you back me into a corner, if you try to destroy me and the people I love, I'll take that fight back. Big time, blah, blah, blah. I don't need an avatar of war to tell me how to fight. There's been a battle raging inside me ever since I was given these powers. Only the avatar of peace can keep that in check. So, yeah. So, yeah, I guess the idea that there's this war inside her that she's always keeping at peace, and that's the light that she's erupting to kill him.
That's weird.
It is weird. And then Deadman gets up, he's back to ghost form, so she can't see him. But Deadman breaks up with her because he actually says basically what Hawk did earlier. Dove get really pissed at Hawk for suggesting that she break up with him, and
Right.
Deadman basically says the same thing. Yeah, by the way, I basically attracted them to you. We have no idea what our relationship could actually mean, so I think we should just call it quits. And then Dove's all upset. And it actually ends in a really weird panel where Dove's kind of crying and Hawk puts his hand around her and says, I understand why he did it, Dawn. Don't mean that any of us has to like it. Which feels weird coming from him because he was trying to talk her into doing the same thing earlier on in the issue. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It felt anticlimactic to end in that panel. So that was basically the end of the first arc. It says next time Batman. So I don't know how Batman fits into the next issue, but maybe
I'm sorry, you have to keep reading this.
Maybe he'll show up to try and deal with the stomach vagina of light.
Oof, man.
So I don't even know. But that's Hawk and Dove issue 5. It gets a stunning 3 out of 10. So, do you know what? I'll give it credit for though, because all of the books this week were all big books. They're all annuals or longer issues because the 2 specials were longer as well. I got to this one last, and because it was a regular page count, it felt really short. So, and just by leaving this till after all the big 40-page books, it was like, oh, this felt really short. It was like a nice surprise when it finished so early. I was like, oh, I'd gotten used to all these big books. So that was nice.
That's fantastic, though.
That was nice. But that's actually the last book, so that'll take us on to the part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week. We pick our favourite panel/moment, our favourite art, our favourite cover, and our top 5 books of the week. So that's what we're going to do. So start with panel/moment. Matt, what is your favourite of the week?
So, man, I'm not pulling from Heroes in Crisis, but I really think that the moment that got me the most was from Drowned Earth, where Superman's falling and Flash runs up and catches him at the last minute. That was really solid.
That's great. No, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
That's great. I think I will go with Heroes in Crisis. I'm also going with a Flash moment. I think Flash hearing Wally's name and speeding off. Is maybe because I think that's the first time that Wally's death, whether it sticks or not, I think that's the first time where I felt the hit from it because Barry, found out and it mattered to Barry, so it hit me. This is a thing. At least right now in this story, Wally is dead, and that hurt. So I think that moment hit me because of that, and I'll give that to that. So Barry's emotion and reaction to that felt raw. So I'll go with that. So best cover of the week. I need to have a look actually.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now, and it's very slim pickings this week.
Fewer books for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just checking out a couple of variants here.
Yeah.
Right, no, not that one. It's probably Heroes in Crisis, to be honest.
Yeah. I have to. Either cover are real good. I think it's Sook that's doing those the photo covers.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
The weakest moments. But I really do like that cover of Batman with Wonder Woman's lasso
around his neck, but it's Harley's legs that are kind of up above him holding it. Yeah. No, it's just a really simple, nice cover. No, that's got my pick too. All right, best art of the week then. Is it Heroes of Crisis? Is it Clayman?
It's got to be.
It has to be. Yeah. I really like Porter's art in Drowned Earth, but I still have to give it to Heroes in Crisis by a fair margin.
Yep, me too.
So, simple, easy pickings. All right, top 5 books of the week, Matt, or top however many you read. Go.
Yep. So Heroes in Crisis #1, John Earth 2, Terrifics 3, Witching Hour 4, Deathstroke Yogi 5.
I wasn't expecting Heroes in Crisis to be #1 for you, because I think you rated that lower than one or two of them.
No, the highest I went was 8. And
Okay.
that tied with John Earth.
Okay, cool. I'm also going Heroes in Crisis #1, and then going Drowned Earth #2, and then Terrifics #3, and then I only read 5 books, so yeah, I'm going to be saying all of them. I'll put Witching Hour at #4, and then Batman Secret Files at #5. There you go. Done. All 5. Week 5s are weird because there's less books.
Yep.
The top 5 means more when there was 10 books, because then there's like 5 that didn't make it.
Yeah.
But hey.
Right.
So I'll tell you what's coming next week then. Coming next week on the show, we have the first issue of The Green Lantern from Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. So that's your headliner next week. We have Batman 58. We have Justice League #11, which is the next part of Drowned Earth. We have not Nightwing 52. None of us are reading that.
Nope.
I can guarantee you that much.
Orbit.
That's going to the not read pile. We have Green Arrow 46, we have Adventures of Super Sons #4, and we have Deathstroke 37. We actually have 6 books next week. So I'll say this right now. I think for next week we will ask for some questions, and we can answer some questions.
Did you say the Sideways Annual?
Oh, is that next week now as well now too?
Yep, that's up there too.
Yeah, I got pushed.
Yeah.
Still though, that's still only 7 books, so I think all the same. Next week we'll get some questions on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. So if you want to ask us a question at DC Comics Podcast, or ask us in the comments on the YouTubes, and we might pick your question next week for some extra discussion, since it's a later week. I mean, this was a late week in terms of books, but there were bigger stories, so there's a lot to talk about. So that's cool. Also next week that we will not be covering Suicide Squad Black Files issue 1, Curse of Brimstone #8, Harley Quinn 53, and The Unexpected #6, which is one of the final issues of that, I think. Unexpected's not got a lot left.
Yeah.
So someone told us actually that Unexpected was cancelled in the comments a few episodes ago, and I said that is the most expected thing about The Unexpected.
Yeah.
Is that it's cancelled
early.
early.
They're just giving him free reign to do whatever with these books, because he has another one coming out too.
Electric Warriors, that's in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's weird. But hey, no, I think Orlando has potential in him, but he's had some really big flops for me. But hey, so yeah, that's what's coming next week. So send us questions and we'll ask them. And Carl will be back. He'll have Red Hood as well to catch up on. So yeah, that'll be an interesting week next week. So, that is us. That is the show.
That's it.
Which leads me to I mentioned Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support us and feel warm and fuzzy and then save for as little as $1. The $5 tier, you get the bonus monthly episode with me and Connor. The winner of the October vote was Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, Volume 1. We have both read that. It would have been recorded 2 days ago, but then he got called into work last minute. So
as you do.
That'll be the next few days sometime. We'll get to that and that'll go up for the patrons. But we've both read it, so that's coming very soon. So look forward to that. And just look at the Patreon, at DC Comics Podcast. Does everything, I think. You can get me at Wibble89, you can get Matt at Matt of Steel 57. But that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys. And always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.